Hi everyone, this is Tim from Robot Butt, coming to you live from my home office. This is Robot Butt Recommends. What we had wanted to do was give you guys something to potentially watch, do as we're all still in kind of a lockdown mentality. I know certain states, looking at you, Georgia, are trying to reopen the economy and get everyone out and doing things, but for a lot of people, there is still a whole pandemic thing going on. People are going to choose to stay indoors still as much as possible. So it's nice to have a backlog of things to do so that you aren't completely crazy and running out of things to occupy your time with. So every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm just going to jump on here, give you guys a quick recommendation of a movie or a book or some other media that you can entertain yourselves with that I really like and that I think is worth watching and consuming, especially if there's something going on in current affairs that might spark that. So case in point, today I did want to recommend something that kind of has to do with where we currently are. I know no one really likes to continue talking about the pandemic, but we are, like I said, at a point where some states are choosing to push open that economy and get everyone reinvigorating the capitalism gods. So for my first recommendation, I did want to kind of tap into that. So it is a little bit political, and sorry for you guys who don't like people get into politics, but until you all get me a pet otter, that is unfortunately how I'm going to spend my time. So the recommendation I have for today is sorry to bother you that way. Um, like I said, it does tap into that kind of for capitalism's sake mentality that we're kind of in. Tomorrow, May 1st, there are a number of strikes that have been organized for Amazon and Instacart and Whole Foods. So it seemed like a really good time to revisit or visit Sorry to Bother You, which does have a lot to do with people coming together for the collective good and the ways that those in power try to fighting amongst themselves. But even if you don't like the political messaging, don't worry, it is also an incredibly funny movie. It is one of the sharper and more brutal satires that I've seen in quite some time. The basic premise is it follows a character played by Lakeith Straightfield, who, by the way, the cast is phenomenal in this movie. You have him, you have Tessa Thompson, Danny Glover, Armie Hammer. It's a really good cast. And you also have voice work by David Cross, Patton Oswalt, a bunch of other people. Because the whole premise is the main character has a customer service job, cold calls out to sell people over the phone, a lot of bullshit. And he's having trouble getting sales. And one of the older black men, played by Danny Glover, in his tells him that he needs to tap into voice, and what that makes people more comfortable and more with their money, and like Keith's stress. So there's a lot of, it's a really good kind of weird premise where you have the different voices coming out of people, and it just works really well because there's a bit of magical realism to the movie in terms of whenever he is calling people, you actually see him and his desk drop down into their homes. It really does a good job of kind of getting you to the mindset of telemarketers just kind of invading the home to try to get you to do stuff for them, to get you to give them money. That's the essential premise. It does just kind of snowball from there. I really don't have to say anymore, where the movie just goes completely off the rails in a good way, where it takes a turn that you expected. And it really just kind of builds upon the absurdity of commercialism, capitalism, in a really fun way, honestly. And it gets very ridiculous, but it's very fun. Like I said, it's written and directed by Boots Riley, who, if you're super into hip hop, you might recognize him from the Coup. I'm not going to claim to be a huge hip hop aficionado, but I do really, and they're very good as well. So he had initially wanted to make a movie years ago and get the funding and resource, so they released an album name first. Then he was able to make the movie itself, and it really does come across as someone finally getting the chance to do what they've always wanted. The movie is just bursting with all sorts of ideas. It's very inspired. You can tell that he's been rattling around with these ideas for a long time, and it's just very well done. It is currently available to stream on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, you can just jump on and watch that for free. You can rent it on various, YouTube and Amazon and stuff like that. And of course, you can buy the actual Blu-ray, DVD, whatever, and support the artists who make our art. But yeah, so it feels like a very timely thing to watch. It's very funny. And it was one of the bigger surprises in 2018. It was one of my favorite movies of that year, which wasn't really something I was expecting, but it definitely came out and made an impression. So yeah, if you're looking for something to watch this weekend, that is what I would recommend checking out. And I will be back on here on Tuesday at 5, and I will throw something else out for you guys to try out. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great weekend.